the budget was 54 billion. We ended up at the 7.9 billion as financing. Financing is basically borrowing to support the budget. And when we add A and B, we get the total resource envelope 167.3, which was presented as the budget, and the outturn was 160 billion with a negative 7.4. When you go to the expenditures, the total budget again is 167.3 billion. The actual expenditure, 160 billion, and we have a negative outcome of 7.3 billion or 4.4%. But when you look at this table and you look at how did we perform, in terms of resource mobilization, you see the positive 7.7%. In terms of the fiscal consolidation, and here we talk about budget credibility. And budget credibility basically means that what we presented to the National Assembly and approved by the National Assembly or by Parliament, how did we perform against what we presented? And this is showing us that we had a deviation of 4.4%. Normally, a budget is credible if the deviation is below 15%. A budget is considered not credible if the deviation is above 15%.
But here we just wanted to show, as the minister was saying, supply is a problem. Demand is high, but also it's expected because the building after COVID requires you to export, to import. But I think we are also have a very strong affinity for imports, because it's not just inputs that we import literally everything. And that puts pressure on the limited foreign exchange that we have. So let's move on to the next chart. So here is now in a granular form what has been happening this year in terms of the supply from the mining sector, which is that bar which I showed you. The orange bars are projected tax receipts that they are to bring. These projections were made by themselves, the mining company. They are not our projections. So we're just following. The blue bars are showing what actually came in. So you can see from January 2023, we are underperforming except in February and May and significantly in August. But demand is constant. You have oil. Oil, we import fuel, which is priced in domestic currency. So when you pay for fuel, those people to go and restock, they come to the market looking for dollars. Now, sometimes which is good now, the government is not quite involved in that. It's not involved in that. When government was actually involved, it was quite perverse, because what happens is that we're actually subsidizing everybody. You know, that's one of the unproductive subsidy, because nobody stand away when you want to fuel at the filling station, and it's in Kwacha. So when the exchange rate moves like it has done, in the past, it meant it hit the treasury. They have to come with more resources to augment, taking away again from developmental. So that's why the government said, no, I think enough is enough. Let OMCs do that.
When you compare to 2022, the net revenue increased by 11.4%. We moved from 90 billion to 100.6%. But like emphasized, import VAT and domestic VAT increased by 56.9% and 9.8% respectively. So the contribution of VAT in 2023 was 32.7% as compared to 22.8% in 2022. Now, this is very important. I think we've emphasized before that the focus should be on consumption taxes. The advantage of this is that whether you have a taxpayer identification number or not, when you produce or when you buy or consume a product where VAT is applicable, you've contributed to the tax. The key drive is to ensure that that VAT is passed on to the government ultimately. If you look at contribution, for example, the mining sector, the 30.6% we're talking about, 80% of that only came from 7 mines. And that has been the pattern. Look at 2022, same pattern. 2021, we had 5. So 7 mines accounting for 80% of the 30.6 revenue that was contributed. And this is against a taxpayer population from the mining sector of over 2,600. So a lot of the minerals we hear about, even we hear there's gold mining around Lusaka, the sugilite, it's not showing now numbers. And those are the fundamental issues we need to deal with, and we're addressing the background. We can move to the next slide. If you look at contribution as well by category, there's a perception that the large companies are not paying anything, it's only the small ones. The numbers are showing that in 2023, large taxpayers, that's 194 large taxpayers, accounted for 70.2% of the revenue. So while the small and medium enterprises, the SMEs, that's 98,368, accounted for 29.8%. So in the 100 billion that we collected, about 70 billion came from just 194 companies, while 98,378 companies accounted for the 30 billion. Again, you can see that the majority in the SMEs, the levels of compliance are low. That's what the numbers are showing. It's the same 2022, you can see a similar pattern. However, there was an increase of 6% in revenue share from the small and medium enterprises in 2023. This was partly driven by the slowdown in activity from the mainly dominant large taxpayers, that's the mining sector, and also increased compliance and enforcement activities among the small and medium taxpayers. So please understand when we do a bit of enforcement, not a bit, it's just a bit for now. So understand where we are coming from, what numbers are we dealing with in the back office. We can move the next slide. If you look at levels of compliance, there's a slide on compliance, please, just go back one step. The levels of compliance have not improved to the period before COVID. We were at an average, look at 2017, we're at 78% compliance. It's been going down up to now. Last year we closed at 2023 we closed at 40%. So revenue return filing compliance has traded downwards over the period. And return filing is a basic thing, which we expect every company to comply with.
Greetings everyone, my name is Eric Chuma for Financial Insight Zambia, here at the Symposium looking at the performance of the 2023 national budget. Joining me right now is the Governor of the Bank of Zambia, Dr. Denny Kalera. Dr. Denny, how are you doing?
Very well, thank you very much. Thank you for inviting me.
Pleasure to have you. So you did have a presentation in the symposium. Are you able to give us some brief takeaways from some of the key elements that you focused on, such as the exchange rate dynamics as well as interest rate?
Yes, no, thank you very much. The point we are making was the fact that firstly, the depreciation that we are witnessing is not unique to Zambia. But having said that, there are also in-country dynamics which affect the extent to which the depreciation is taking place. So one of the things we are highlighting was that supply is declining, but demand remains strong and growing. So for the two to be synchronized, the price is moving. Then underlying that also is the fact that we have this debt restructuring which has dragged on, and certain expected actions are not happening. So we have had to bear the brunt of that. So sentiments are in that respect affected, and they play out through the exchange rate. So what we are saying that we welcome the actions that are being taken with respect to Mopani and the KCM, because they were major suppliers of foreign exchange before they fell out. So that development that is happening is positive. We are also hoping that the restructuring process will come to an end soon. That way we can see some of the flaws that we were seeing before. There is another aspect which perhaps people are not aware of, is the financial conditions tightening in the US and Europe means that people are more discerning now where they put their money. You see, interest rates used to be low in those jurisdictions, now are high. So when you combine that with the risks that they perceive from our side, those become more attractive. So the other concern we have is that if the kwacha continues to weaken, then the size of our GDP will shrink in dollar terms. That has implications for the debt metrics as well. So it is in our interest to curb this, but the central bank has only short-term measures. We need to get on to producing more for exports. Change also the way we do our things. Some of the things, the Buy Zambia campaign should be heightened. So in a nutshell, that's what we are saying. It won't happen by magic, by talking to it. It won't happen.
I think thank you so much for your insights. It's been a pleasure having you. Joining me right now is Zambia Association of Manufacturers President Ashu Saga. Ashu, how are you doing?
Oh, good. How are you?
I'm good. Happy New Year, by the way.
Happy New Year to you.
So some quick reactions from your position as ZAM President with regards to performance of the budget and some things that you raised even in the symposium you think should be looked at.
Look, I mean, firstly, the performance of the budget and the numbers that are there speak for themselves. That I think the ministry and the minister and his team have kept things in check in terms of the variances that they've reported are well within acceptable limits and probably even better than acceptable limits. So that is, I think, a very good takeaway from the presentations. The main concern, of course, for all of us right now is the pressure on the currency, which I mean has been outlined that we hope to see some improvement. But really speaking, I mean, you saw one of the points I brought up was which is the lesser of the two evils, is the inflation that is being caused by the exchange rate, or do we really need to maintain 3.4 months of import cover, and could we have not used that to cushion it on the understanding that inflows from the mining sector, from Mopani's investment, KCM's investment, would come in to replenish what was causing this supply gap.
Yeah.
So, I think overall, look, budget-wise, they've done very well, right? The issue now lies on 2024. How do you mitigate the shocks? And going forward, I think the new policies in terms of implementations from ZRA, from Bank of Zambia, from the Ministry of Finance as well, let's hope that it is able to create an environment for us, for example, in the manufacturing sector, to move forward. But definitely at the moment, the short-term problem is the impact that is the exchange rate is having on our pricing, our competitiveness, our ability to pay bills. So let's hope that we have some stability in the very, very short term.
And also you raised something about developing, you said about developing our farming blocks as well as processing around those farming blocks to increase productivity?
So, I've given an insight into, we keep talking about Zambia's strengths, and we keep talking about mining, and we keep talking about. We ignore the fact that one of our biggest strengths is being land linked. The neighbors we have, and the fact that we're all part of AFTA, creates a vast opportunity for Zambia, one. Two, it creates an opportunity for us to be very aggressive in terms of agriculture with the farm blocks that we have assigned through the country. Three, it allows us on the back of that to create what we call agri-processing zones, to now service countries that are around us. Now, for example, if we took the East Congo, right? And we said, I think it's Luena on that side, there's a farm block. Yeah. If we developed it specifically around commodities for the Eastern Congo, and we developed agri-processing zones around that for the East of Congo, we start creating a whole supply chain for manufacturing and a whole supply into our neighboring countries. So while we keep focusing on mining and we keep focusing on agriculture as well, on a part where it is raw product from both sectors, mining copper leaves, very little value addition, agriculture, grain leaves with very little value addition. How do we now create a sustainable farm block project that feeds our neighbors? So land linked to me now is where we need to be concentrating as a country. Take the initiative to actually build upon that connectivity, rather than letting other countries pass through and service our neighboring countries. I think we have a great opportunity here to start changing things.
Joining me right now is Zamstat's Statistician General, Mr. Mulenda J. Msepa. Mr. Mulenda, how are you doing?
I'm okay, and thank you very much.
Glad to have you. So you did have a presentation at the symposium. Maybe tell us a bit of what that presentation looks at and what the numbers are saying.
Well, basically, that presentation is more or less like a shot in the arm from the World Bank. The World Bank is supporting the development of production of statistics and dissemination, and just improving the institutional capacities of the national statistical offices. And they selected a number of countries. There's Comoros, you've got Sao Tome, Zambia, Mozambique, and Malawi. Now, for our purposes, it's basically going to go towards plugging gaps in production statistics, and more important, dissemination and use of those statistics. You may realize that we've had a backlog of statistical products. Some of the statistical products are supposed to produce within every 2 years, and so on and so forth. We will receive a 30 million facility over the 5 years, from 2023 to 2028. And basically there are three components in there. We've got census, surveys, and administrative data. And much of the focus will be administrative data to cater for government institutions such as ministries and departments, for them to have some kind of data, statistical evidence to make decisions. The other component basically is transformation of the agency, and the third and last component is basically a dissemination and access to data. The whole thing is that what we produce as data must be accessed, and accessed easily. So we are going into redeveloping. In fact, we're almost done with Smart Zambia, an interactive kind of website, which will enable you, for instance, to pick the data from there. You select, and then tell it what you want it to be. Do you want to have a graph, a pie chart, or a line graph? And then you should be able to do it from the website and just export the graph to your file. We are also going to a number of digital solutions. One of the things that the Act requires us to do is support the use of ICT solutions to our work. That is cost effective. And therefore, some of the things that we want to do, we've already developed. For example, we want you to go to, using a link, you can go to a particular constituency and be able to know how many people are in that constituency, and broken down by male and female, and then be able to know how many health establishments there are by types. And it will also show you the education establishment by type and the total. But then also, for instance, the Ministry of Health says that they would want people to be serviced, if it's a health facility, within 5 kilometers radius. So we are able to pick that information and then to be able to show how many people of a population of Lusaka Central are serviced within 5 kilometers radius and how many of those are outside, who are service, so to say. We are also developing tools to be able to show the access time to a public facility. And this could be a police station, this could be a post office, this could be a health facility or education facility. So we are also going into a lot of that. But I should mention that the 30 million facility is not just for Zamstars. It should go towards developing the entire national statistical system. And therefore, other things we are looking at, we are reviewing the way we do our business to try and ensure cost effectiveness. Are we able to get, if we are getting one indicator from $1, are we able to get 2 indicators from $2, from $1, okay? So that we increase the value of that dollar to get more indicators. And that requires that, we also have to enhance collaboration within ministries and between ministries. What I mean here is that sometimes we've got household surveys being conducted by different government departments at the same time, of the same frequency. Why don't we collaborate? We just have one questionnaire, okay? And then train people in one room, and then have fewer people going out there to administer the survey. And once we've collected the data, then we take out the data which belongs to Department A and the data to Department B, then we process it, okay? Yeah. It will also reduce our respondent fatigue, because sometimes when the respondents are fatigued, they'll lose interest in giving us the right information.
Yeah, and we saw that the government is now advocating for more digital means of transacting and actually doing business. How important is that for your particular job as Zamstars in terms of collecting data, the drive towards digitization of certain processes?
It's very, very important. It's not just Zamstars, it's the entire national statistical system. And for us to develop, we'll have to move ahead, okay? ICT is a thing to go for. And this is why I mentioned the issue of our plans to set up a data science center that can give us insights into high velocity, high variability, and high volume data. So it's critical, and that's the way to go, and the Act mandates us to do that.